Welcome to Advanced Data Analysis 1 with me, Erik Erhardt, Professor of Statistics at the University of New Mexico. In this video, I'll help get you started with the second part of the poster. So we'll scroll down to the literature review, references, discussion, and future work. So this is about contextualizing the work that you've done in your poster. All right, let's start by looking at the Quarto file. So we've got the outline for the poster. Class 25, there's an introduction. In fact, let's scroll up just a little bit. Class 25 completes the list in Class 26, items 1, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, so item 1 is the introduction. This is where you're going to do your literature review. Basically, you're going to look at, try to find 2 or 3 papers that discuss each of your research questions and write 1 sentence about each paper and cite it. This is not a research methods class, but so I want you to basically perform the bare minimum literature review. And I hope that you'll learn those skills elsewhere or have already learned those skills elsewhere. I'm just giving you, my goal here is to show you how to cite work inside of RStudio in a Quarto document. Okay. Then the other Class 25 parts, we'll scroll past the analyses. The discussion, that's where you relate what you did to what others did before you, or you can say, how you extended other people's work. Further direction, so what else would you want to investigate? And then the references will automatically fill. All right. Now, I am a extremely strong advocate for using a bibliography manager, such as Zotero, Mendeley, EndNote, almost anything. In this class, because we're doing something so very basic, I know that we have a video on Mendeley from a previous year, but I want to keep it simple so to just reduce the number of things that can go wrong. So we're just going to put our bibliography items into, it's actually a bibliography manager called BibTeX. That's the structure of the bibliography. However, the BibTeX bibliography is just going to be a text file, and that's going to keep it very simple for us. This strategy doesn't really work once you've got 10 or 20 or more citations. And you can always export from Zotero or Mendeley to a BibTeX file if you want to use this citation strategy. Okay, so let's scroll up to the top first in our project file. We'll scroll down to this line. Now I think, and I'll go confirm it right now, in the original outline where you're working, in this QMD file, that last line of the bibliography is commented out with a pound sign. It says bibliography, and then there's a file name .bib, .bibliography. Okay, it's going to use a format called BibTeX, which is a citation syntax for LaTeX, which is a typesetting software developed by Donald Knuth in the 70s, and it's very powerful. It's great for typesetting mathematics, which we're not really doing, but we're going to use that structure, and I'm going to show you how to get that structure directly out of Google Scholar. All right, so this is going to be a tour where you just follow with me, and I recommend doing this along with me. So first thing to do is let's go to your QMD file, uncomment the bibliography, and I'm just going to create a new file name here that is like ADA1 project.bib. Excuse me. All right, so that is the file that I'm going to use. I'm going to create a new file. Probably an R script is fine. We just want basically a blank text file. And let's save this new file. Save as. That file name, ADA1 project.bib. and put that in the same place where you're doing your work. And I'm going to say yes to let it have the .bib extension. Okay, so here's a blank text file. It's going to hold our citations. We're going to use this file just in a moment. All right, if we come back to the web page, I have a link here to use the UNM proxy for Google Scholar. So I'm going to open this in a new tab. It's going to have me sign in. Okay, so I put in my UNM username and password, and it brings me to Google Scholar. And you can see up here a special web address. You know, it says scholargoogle.com.libproxy.unm.edu. This gives you UNM library access to journal articles on the web. So you'll get lots of access to PDFs by doing this. All right, so now that we've got a beginning, let's go search for something related to my research question. So I'll go back to here, I'll jump down to the bottom. Somewhere I've got my research questions. I think I went too far. Now I'm paging back down. Yeah, here we go. So close. Here we go. Research questions. All right. Is the population mean total cigarettes smoked greater with people with depression? So let's do like cigarettes smoked and depression. Okay, we'll just search for something simple. Cigarette smoking and major depression. All right. So, you know, what you can do here is then you can go and get the PDF file. It is available to you because of the library proxy. You can just click on it. I'm going to press Control and click on it to open it in a new tab. And you can review the abstract. I would start by reading that and see if it relates to your research. If it does, you can download the PDF file and read it a bit more and see if there's a key sentence in there that is almost directly related to what you're working on. If not, that's okay. You know, we're not publishing our work. We don't really need to do this at you know, a top tier level of literature review, but I want you to get something out of it. This is the citation part. So here's the technical part. If you click on citate, or if you click on cite, it will give you the citations in a few different methods. And then at the bottom it says BibTeX. Click on BibTeX, and it gives you something that looks like code, but it's pretty straightforward to understand. This says that the document type is an article rather than a book or a technical report or a white paper or a website or a dozen other things. Most things you're going to look at are going to be articles or books, mostly articles. It has a citation key, which is the unique identifier inside of your bibliography to reference this citation, comma. Inside of the article parentheses, there's a bunch of other fields. There's a title, and inside the curly braces is the title of the article. There are the authors. The authors are listed. It can be last name, comma, first name, or it can be first name, space, last name. You delimit the names with the word and. So here we have 3 authors. It's got the journal, the volume, the number, the pages. Now we've got 2 hyphens here because that expands to what's called an N dash. Right? A hyphen is really narrow. If you put 2 dashes, it will typeset as a wider dash. It's called an N dash because it says wide as the lowercase letter n. If you put 3 dashes or 3 hyphens, that will typeset as an M dash. A dash as wide as a lowercase letter m. It has a year and then a publisher. Now the ampersand is a special character, so you need to escape the ampersand so it shows up as an ampersand. Otherwise it's like a tab character for spacing, and you'll get an error. All right, so if we wanted to use this citation, we would copy all this text. I'm going to make it the standard text size. Bring it over to RStudio, go to our bibliography file, and just paste it in here. All right, there is our first citation. Now I'm going to go through and show you the full workflow of adding this into our document. All right, so here's our citation key. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go over to my project file, and we're working up here in the introduction, okay? And I'll just say, this is my first citation. And then I have to remember how to do this. I think here's an example down here, brackets with an ampersand. Okay, so you put square brackets, ampersand, and the key name. If you had multiple citations, you'd put a semicolon, maybe a comma also, and you could put another citation there, okay? But let's just do that one and render it and see what the result is. The current document, if I go to the very bottom, there's an automatic section that's added called references. And I had accidentally added before 2 references. These 2 are going to break at this point because here's a reference, here's the document, the article that I just cited. It's typeset beautifully. It's got the author names, the year, title in quotes, the journal article is in italics, volume number, page numbers. All right, automatically put in there. Let's scroll up and see where we cited it. Oops. Yeah, here it is. Introduction. This is my first citation. And the citation strategy that's being used is author year. So there's the author's year. If you hover, the citation shows up. If you click, it jumps down. And does it go back up the other way? No. All right, so that is a simple way to create a bibliography. So I'm going to work through now what I want my bibliography to look like, because I have some text prepared already. But the main lesson here for you right now is how to use Google Scholar. I'm going to press the back key. Okay. You find how to use Google Scholar. Click on Cite, grab the BibTeX, and copy that in to your bibliography file. All right. So I have a couple citations I want to use. I'm going to go get them right now. Actually, let me do my text first. All right. So here's where my introduction is, and I want to write this. All right. So I've got basically I'm going to frame my literature review around my research questions. My first research question was that smoking behavior is related to depression, and my second was that smoking behavior is associated with nicotine. Those are not my 2 analyses that I selected. One of them was about ethnicity and nicotine dependence. Okay, so I've already not done a good job at this, but you can do better than I did. So let's see. We've got depression. Let me page down for a moment. My analysis was cigarettes smoked and depression. Okay, page back up. Smoking behavior and nicotine dependence. Yeah, I think that was a leftover from a previous poster that I did. All right, so let's work on this first one at least. So I say that there's a longitudinal investigation. I've got these 2 other citations here. One is Breslau, 1998. The other is Durker, Association, 2001. All right. So I already have those citations in another document. So I'm going to get rid of the one that I made earlier. I'm going to paste in this first one, which is Breslau. This one actually has an abstract in the bibliography, and so I'm going to. That's takes up a little bit too much space. Also has keywords. Don't really care about that. Don't care about the language or the timestamp when I created this. Okay, that's a little bit easier to read. You can see article here is all caps. It doesn't matter whether it's caps or lowercase. These other fields might matter, but I don't think so, whether it's capitalized or lowercase. All right, the other one is Durker Association 2001. All right, so I'm going to pretend that I went through Google Scholar, which I did at some point, and got this citation, Durker Association 2001. It's got authors, title, etc. Okay. Sometimes I can cite a URL, sometimes not. It doesn't, it'll expand what is in the bibliography, but it doesn't really change the primary information. Hotter these days is a DOI, oh gosh, what does it stand for? A document something identifier, sort of like a unique way to identify a document. All right, so that's these citations. Then I have a few others here. All right, but you can see sort of the basic idea, right? I'd be looking on Google Scholar, finding citations that are relevant and citing them. So what do I say here in my text? I say longitudinal investigations have shown that depression increases risk of later smoking. And these are two articles that supported, that were longitudinal investigations that showed this increased risk. Many subsequent studies, okay, so these should come in later years, which they do. These is 98 and 2001. This is 2004 and 2003. Subsequent studies found a role in major depression in increasing the probability and amount of smoking. Okay, so I'm sort of summarizing in one sentence several journal articles. All right, I'm having a little bit of trouble finding these. Let's see, here's two of them in my other file. All right, and I'm just going to keep the abstracts in there. The abstracts obviously don't show up in the bibliography. And the other one was Durker defining. Oops, sorry. Okay, so I've copied in Durker defining all the ones associated with this first part, okay? I'm going to skip over the second one because I think it would be redundant, but I'll show you what happens if you have a citation that isn't in your bibliography. So let's render this. We'll go over to our project file. When it updates, we'll see this introduction update. Okay, there it is. Introduction. All right. Smoking behavior is associated with major depression. Here's the two sentences that we were just talking about, and there are the citations. And then here's another couple sentences. These citations aren't in my bibliography file. So the ID, or the bib key, is listed here, the same one that I used in the source file, like right here, Candel extent 2000. And so that's showing up here, and it's not giving me a nice author and year because it's not in my bibliography database. Now, one cool thing I'll just point out here, Road had 2 citations here, 2003 and 2004. And so it has put those 2 together, Road et al., 2004 and 2003. If we scroll to the end, our references list is growing. All right, so that's the very basics of creating a bibliography. So now you've got 2 files to manage, your bib file and your QMD file. Okay, let's stop there, and I'll come back and do the next video on the next parts of this assignment.